I was planning on going to school for mechanical engineering, very technically minded. So I get to this competition. I entered for poetry and engineering.
Wow, so you did both.
Yes, I did both.
Wow.
So for one, that same poem that I did in front of the school, I also entered in the competition. I had to get it notarized and everything. And then for engineering, I designed and built a roller coaster and ran simulations and everything. Just threw my name in there, just went along with it. I won in both categories and then advanced to nationals.
Wow.
To this day, I ask myself, whatever I was on, whatever I must have been smoking, it must have been good, because that is insane.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Maia Moments podcast. This is Maia, and I am here with a friend of mine who I get to call a brother. I've been able to have a relationship with for years now. Oh my goodness. Lacroy Nixon. He also goes by Atlas. He is a spoken word artist, an author, God's sense of humor, and he also is a graphic designer, and God has just used him in so many ways. And we're just going to talk about it today. On this season of being creatively purposed. You can say hi, Lacroy, if there's anything you want to say.
Hey everybody, I'm glad to be here. Let's jump right into it.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I have always told Lacroy, and I always talk about how fun I love talking about just his gifts and how God has used him and equipped him, because going way back when I first met him, which was a part of a ministry called Bridging the Gap Urban Ministries at Liberty University. He was one of the only spoken word artists, and there was other people that ended up coming or doing spoken word, but he was the main one that did it. And so he was so different from most of us, because I was doing dance and there was people doing step, and there was other people doing, rap and music. And Lacroy was so unique, and he just commanded the rooms that he was in, and God really used him in so many ways to just speak to people, and God has really blessed his words. So yeah, let's just start from the beginning and connect with who you were to who you are. How did the creativity you currently use on a frequent basis with spoken word artists and design, how did it find you more than how did you find it? Where would you say was the first moments of that?
Geez. All right, let me take y'all all the way back to, I'm pretty sure it was 2012. I'm sophomore in high school, in English class, and we're sitting there. Everybody's got to go through the poetry unit. Everybody learns how to write a poem. We all got to write a poem in front of the class, say it in front of the class, whatever. At the time, I'm the world's biggest introvert. To think that I would be standing on stage talking to people, it was unheard of. So
really,
it was
That's
really
crazy.
interesting to think of. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. Wrote this poem, whatever. Didn't want to get up in front of the class and say it. Not me, not in the cards. Mm-hmm. The teacher, on the other hand, she was like, you know what? I'll get up and I'll say it in front of the class, whatever. She says it, and everybody starts oohing and ahhing. They're like, oh. Going nuts. And everybody's looking at me like, yo, who is this kid? It is all right, whatever. But that right there, that little bit of something just gave me the kind of spark to start writing and start saying, you know what can I do with this? So I just started doing it more and more. That same teacher began to notice that I was writing and actually starting to put effort into it. So one day after class, she pulls me aside. She's like, hey, there's this competition in the city that's run through the NAACP branch here in the city. The NAACP AXO competition. They think of it like a cultural Olympics, as they call it. So that's what they call it. Everything from oratory speech to math, physics, culinary arts, any kind of performing arts that you could possibly think of and more are categories you can compete in this competition. And come to find out, it spans like nationally. There's like over 400 something branches around the United States, and kids from grades 9 to 12 compete in one or multiple categories. So I got kind of thrown into this competition because my mom finds out. She's like, "Nah, you're getting in this competition," and I'm like, "Oh,
come on, mama, I know that's right."
I'm like, all right, but again, just kind of going with the flow. I'm still kind of writing. Didn't really know what I was really getting myself into. Simultaneously, Black History Month is coming up. She's like, "Hey, if you could write a piece for Black History Month, I'll have you say it in front of the school." Excuse me? I'm like, excuse me? And that would be, I guess, my first performance. So I get up in front of the school. The school is not small. We had to have two separate like assemblies because it was like at the time well over 3.5, well over 3,000, close to 4,000 kids at the time. So I'm just like, okay. I'm guessing people started looking at me like, oh, so you got bars, huh? I was like, nah, it didn't really click in my mind as something that you could really do. It was always just like, oh, this is poetry. At the time, I was planning on going to school for mechanical engineering. So a lot of my focus was on very engineering, a lot of trying to get my math stuff down, understand, very technically minded. I didn't really see the connection there. So I get to this competition locally. I entered for poetry and engineering.
Wow, so you did both.
Yes, I did both.
Wow.
So for one, that same poem that I did in front of the school, I also entered in the competition. I had to get it notarized and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was like, oh shoot, this is legit.
Official.
This is legit. But yeah, like I had to get a notary stamp and everything. And then for engineering, I designed and built a roller coaster and ran simulations and everything. Like, don't ask how it happened, but just threw my name in the hat. Another theme you'll kind of hear echoed as we move on. Just threw my name in there, just went along with it. I won in both categories and then advanced to nationals in both categories. Again, to this day, I ask myself, whatever I was on, whatever I must have been smoking, it must have been good because that is insane. Whatever it was,
you didn't even realize your who you were, but continue.
Not a chance. Like I'm like 15 going on 16 at the time. What do I know about any of this stuff? But going to the nationals, that was the first time I really saw what poetry could be. Going there, I met people from across the nation that have been writing and performing for years. People that probably like they've been winning like local slam competitions or the national slam competitions or whatever, and they do this. I met some people and listened to some people that really have been on big stages.
Wow.
And that like a lot of the practices I do now, I originally learned there. They had this workshop for just for poets, like poets, rappers, or people that use lyrics. Everything from how to write lyrics to how to present yourself as professional and stuff like that. It was about an hour and some change workshop, but gems, dropping gems. So here we go. Award ceremony comes up for the nationals. It's like 2,000 people in there representing all 50 states. It's going crazy. Nationals this year was in Orlando, Florida. So we're like right in the heart of Orlando. We lit. I'm like, all right, cool. And I didn't win anything.
So you didn't win anything?
I did not win a single thing. So
wow.
And at first I was a little like discouraged. I was like, dang. But then again, I realized, wait a minute, these people have been doing this for years. This is my first time in here. You're not supposed to come
and you got to nationals even after your first time, you had no idea how much work went into it. You had no idea how much any of it is. Like you said, like you were just figuring out the mechanics of poetry and of using your words and the way that you use them. And from that, you saw how big it could be. Like you then gained an appetite for oh, I don't want to just this isn't just something to play with now. Like I understand how big this can be. And I kind of want to be excellent in this at this. And so you're going to the workshops, you're meeting people. That's one of the first places that you should start when you're trying to start anything creative, is gain the relationships with other people who are doing what you want to do in the field that you want to be. And that created the appetite in you, okay, I know I love engineering. I think kind of foreshadows even your college career, because even for majority of college, you were if you knew Lacroy, you knew he was an engineering major. You knew that he was doing spoken word and he loved his roller coasters.
Oh,
Our friend who loved his roller coasters, child, loved his roller coasters. And so, wow, that's incredible to know that even back then, high school, middle school, you already had these desires that you even had when you were in college.
Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thunk it?
You know what I'm saying? But even after that competition, the ironic part about it is I still didn't see myself as a poet. It's okay, yeah, wow. I casually went to this national competition. Poetry, it's cool. I've done a few things. And then when people find out about it, they're like, bro, you went to where? You did what? I'm like,
yeah. I mean, I didn't even know this. This is incredible. I didn't know that you had went to nationals for the NAACP.
And I think it's also a sign of maturity, because at the time I was so discouraged about dang, I lost. I really put some time and work into this. And it didn't dawn on me. It's bro, there's the people here, they're professionals at this point. They've been doing this since they was since they could talk,
Yeah.
But
wow.
So that was the first year. The second year, going into my junior year, I went back, same categories again. This time had a different poem. This time nationals was in Vegas. It was crazy.
Oh.
Joe was crazy. But it was fun though. It was fun. As we just stayed
out.
I've
never been to Vegas.
It's better on TV. I'll be honest. It's better on TV.
Really?
The strip is mad small, bro. It's just one little street. It's one street, and everything's packed into this little street. And then past that is the hood. So
always.
I mean, that's always. How. I mean, it was funny because you got the Stratosphere Tower and then a straight hood. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's crazy.
But nonetheless, same deal. Out there, notarized poem, got the thing. Let's see. And every year at the award ceremony, they have some major person come in and either speak or perform or something like that. In the first year, they canceled that because this is right when the Trayvon Martin case was happening. It happened right then. So they had a tribute to him, and this is in Florida. He was killed in Florida. This is right in the heart of Atlanta. So
this is literally wow.
So they had a tribute to him and everything. Quick side note, I'll never forget, there was this art piece that somebody had made out of Skittles, and it was his face. In the background was newspaper clippings showing the story of it. I think I've
seen that. Yeah, I think I've seen that art actually before. Of Trayvon?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I had never seen anything like that. So
yeah.
We was in there deep. So the second year, we're in Vegas, they invite who is it? China Ann McClain. She came and performed out there. Joe was crazy. I was like, oh shoot, yeah, we out here. So
that's crazy.
Let's see, what I do? Second year, had a poem, thought I was going great and everything. The second year for engineering, I built a robot. Joe was crazy. Hold on, is it? Can you see? No, it's behind me somewhere on the thing.
Oh my god!
Got a bunch of junk over there, but it's over there on my shelf somewhere, gathering dust.
Wow!
But second year,
you gotta keep it.
Second year, I built a robot, And for sure, I'm so sure I'm a shoo-in, bro. I'm going to get at least third place. Because the thing is, first, second, and third place get recognized, get medals, and they get scholarship. So it's scholarship money on the line. So I'm like, okay, yo, let's go. I didn't win again. Nothing.
Wow.
Again, though, I met some more other people there that again, they really do this. Being on that level and being on that kind of stage where it's like, yeah, you're amongst the best of the best.
The best. Yeah.
You know, you're not just like, this isn't just some competition. This isn't just some conference. It's like, no, everybody, some people, like for most of us, we had to go through a local, then you go straight to national. Some places like the bigger cities like New York, Houston, LA, they had to go through a regional section before they could get to national because there's so many people.
So many people, yeah.
So
this is the best of the best. This is the cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop. Just about everybody in there was, and it's all young Black kids. Like it's almost all exclusively young Black kids. So just about everybody in there.
That's
either
beautiful.
Got full rides to college, going to a college somewhere. A lot of athletes in there. Everybody you could possibly think of, like, but the excellence, like that kind of.
Yeah, no, like I think those spaces are so priceless because as kids, you grow up not being, most kids across the American, African American diaspora, you don't grow up necessarily seeing other people, especially in a creative medium like poetry, with other Black kids around you, so to be in a room full of other people who are the cream of the crop, who are just, they're passionate about this as much as you are, and getting to like talk to them about even the minute things, like this is how I make mine, this is the outlines, this is how I start, this is how I start, and just being like, oh, I never thought about it that way, maybe I should try that out and see how I like that, or this is how I do mine. Such camaraderie and such beautiful friendships and relationships come from that. So I love that. Okay, so did you do the competition another year, or then you transition on?
Okay, so the third year I'd gone for the locals. I put poetry, and engineering for a third time. I didn't win in poetry because my poem was not notarized. So that was that. And then I had made it in engineering, but I ended up not going to nationals because I was transitioning into college. And it was weird, kind of like, it's like A, the date, and B, like some of the, it was like, you know what, right now I need to focus on getting my stuff ready for college. But nonetheless, it was like, hey, you would have made it to nationals 3 years in a row. There's a lot of people that never do that. So,
and never made it once. And you accidentally got into it. You didn't have expectations out of it, and it got you to that platform where you were able to like continue to be there twice. So then, okay, so now you're transitioning to college. Let's talk about Lynchburg. Like while you were part of the Lynchburg community, you participated in a good amount of just community initiatives, performance things, and you were a part of the engineering community here too. So let's talk about like poetry specifically though, and spoken word artists. Like, what does it look like to be a part of the Lynchburg community for Lacroy while you were here for those years?
Well, it's so interesting because Lynchburg, especially the art scene, has changed so much. To kind of give like how close knit everything kind of is and was. My first performance as part of BTG, shout out Travis who drafted me into BTG as soon as I got on the. Yes, he's the reason I was in BTG. Like,
period. Shout out to Travis.
he found out I was coming to Liberty. Then somehow I didn't put out or blast any public information about me doing poetry. Somehow he digs and finds out I went to the AXO national competition, whatever. He's like, oh, so you're a poet. So fast forward, I joined BTG.
That sounds so Travis.
I'm like I was like, whoa, hold on. Nobody said nothing about titles, but all right, whatever. Like, but it's all his fault. So,
hey.
but nonetheless, like the first performance I have is like 2 weeks after I joined. they're like, yo, so this group called The Listening is going to come on to Liberty's campus, and they're going to have this kind of open mic kind of, or this kind of open mic-ish kind of thing on the steps of the Moss. It's their first time doing a performance on the campus. So we got you a slot, and you're going to be doing 2 pieces. So come up with something. All right. At the time,
Okay,
I didn't have 2 spoken word pieces when he said that. Because again, I just joined VTG. I'm here to be an engineer. This is not.
Yeah.
This wasn't in the syllabus. You know what I'm saying? And
no, literally.
like this was not in the syllabus. I'm like, what you talking about?
Who told me I was going to be doing this?
Facts. And
yeah.
But nonetheless, like that, just jump out there, just go with it. Just stay hungry. And honestly, I was like, you know what? Let's go see where this goes. Silly me, right? I get out there on stage. The first piece I did, and this is why I made the book God and His Humor, because God is crazy. The first piece I performed was a piece I wrote after I lost in the first national competition.
Wow.
And I just sat on it for a couple years and never looked back at it. I just like maybe tweaked 1 or 2 lines, but everything else was written years in advance.
Wow.
So that's when, so I knew I was going to do that piece. And then I did another piece about like I am not a machine, did like, and all my mannerisms like stiff and like robotic and stuff. Yeah, it was crazy, but like, the whole thing was insane. But that's where I met Nick George. He was like, bro, like, yeah, we're doing this thing.
Shout out to Nick George.
Shout out Nick George, the pioneer himself.
The pioneer has residency at Lynchburg. He has residency. Like
that is insane.
The first of the sorts that I know too. But yeah, shout out to Nick George. Wow.
The man, the myth, the legend himself, man. Like that's where I met him. I met Jerry Griffin. Shout out Jerry. I met a couple people that were starting to that were really coming up as movers and shakers at the time. This is fall 2015. So the Listening at that point had only been around for about 3 years and some change, because it started in 2012. So it was still a very new program. So coming in like to the Lynchburg community with people that had already been living in the area, people that had already been plugged in. And then they looked at me and said, oh, nah, you come with us. We got this thing coming on downtown. Because that's really where the spoken word and everything started from there. They said, hey, we got this thing downtown, this church called Mosaic Church or whatever. They're having this thing down at this old community center, and it's an open mic. We'd love to see you there. And I started making my ways to get off the campus and get into the open mics or the events that they were having off campus. And that's really where that started, because from there you meet people at the open mic. You get involved more in the community. You have your ear more to the pavement. So then when things do happen in the city, they're calling you up like, hey, can you come out and be a part of this? Or, hey, can you come out and volunteer with this? Or, hey, like, and that's really where the snowball, it just snowballs from there.
Wow.
But yeah, just staying hungry, the random people you meet. So yeah.
And I think it's just like a little tidbit to talk about, like, to gain from that is that you value every relationship and every person that you meet, because you never know who could be the difference between you having more stages to perform on, which allows more opportunities, and who are just resourceful people. Like when you treat everyone with dignity and respect, and you treat everyone with professionalism, there is doors that open that you could have never imagined because you had no expectation out of it, but you always rose to the occasion. And I think that's something that you always did as well, and why you've been able to be on stages, big and small, in different countries, in different states, because you always, rose to the occasion. So you're here in Lynchburg, you're doing open mics. he was, I'm not going to tell his story for it, but he was doing the engineering major for years before he switched over.
Oh man. Oh man.
So that's had to be a whole process as well. I can imagine just actually making the decision to switch from engineering to graphic design and becoming a part of, well, now it's the communication and the arts. Because I'm a theater major. We're both alums now. So,
you know what time it is?
Yeah. So becoming a part of that community was different. But like, okay, so you're doing open mics. You have the relationships that you're cultivating with other Lynchburg spoken word artists and poets and things. How does Ex Nihilo Collective coincide with these things that are happening in Lynchburg? Or how does that come forth? Where does that seed kind of grow from?
Oh boy. Okay, so let me spin you the yarn, because again, God and his humor. I kid you not. Like every
make
time
sure
I
you
think,
guys go get God's Sense of Humor by Lacroy Nixon.
It's on Amazon right now.
It's on Amazon, and we will talk more about that a little bit later. But I'll make sure I put in the show notes as well to talk about it. But yeah, so go ahead, God's Sense of Humor with this situation as well.
So you had mentioned like I'm going to open mics. For those who don't know, Liberty University, their student activities, they would have like 2 open mics a month.
Yeah.
And it would be Tuesdays, Thursdays, sometimes depending on the month, but you can almost agree it's going to be on like the second or like 4th Tuesday of each month.
Yeah. And they put out them in open spaces. And now it's called Mount View, and have you been to campus lately? There's no Argo 2 anymore. There's a Starbucks there. They switched Argo T and Starbucks, so it's a Starbucks over there now. But yeah, it used to be next to this. Like the vibe was just really artsy. You think of like poetry and spoken word. That's the whole vibe that was there anyway. So
you want to know what the funny thing is though? Like at first, when we were first going open mics, this is like fall 2015, spring 2016.
Yeah.
Everything was in La Haye. They would have it in the La Haye event space.
Oh, yeah. Kem did tell me that. Yeah. Okay, so that was a different feeling then.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I still remember one of the first times I got up there and started doing spoken word, and everybody was like, for some people, that was their first experience with anything like that. Some people had never did like, whoa, he's not rapping, but like, what the heck is this? Like they had never been hit with anything like that. Like, and my style then was so much more animated. Like, oh my God. Like, was that piece of That Guy, the original one, where I threw a Kit Kat bar, threw a Kit Kat bar out to the crowd, and bro, somebody grabbed that joint. They were like, yeah, like I was so like watching old videos.
Because you were really be memorable. Because someone was like, yeah, man, I got this Kit Kat bar and this poet. he gave free snacks at his shows.
But the funny thing is, little did I know, like even then, like no other poet anywhere is doing anything like that. Like
no,
you're not gonna find that anywhere else. So if it works, it works. But
it does. Okay, so you're there at a mic, and what happens?
All right, so I'm going to open mics consistently. That's the biggest thing. Like I just started. It was me, Cam, and Josh that I remember. We would just go. Them two, they would just start rapping, doing a thing, just going crazy. I would just go and just start spitting poetry, doing my thing, going crazy. And at first, like for the first couple months we went, it was really awkward because everybody else was getting up there and kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like it's the same acoustic guitar, contemporary Christian music, past the mic. But then we get up there, Cam's talking about everything he talking about. I'm getting up, Josh getting up there, on his energy, and we all know Josh. We all know Josh. He gets up there, and then I get up there. I'm talking about like systemic oppression and stuff like that. And Liberty University, people are like, "Whoa, who are these guys?" Like, but then after a while, we started to see like not just a shift in people like, "Yo, this is actually kind of dope," but we saw more and more acts get up there, like more of a variety of acts. Like there were people starting to get up and do comedy, which is really hard to do comedy.
It's
like,
very hard.
I was mind blown. I was like, wait a minute, are we watching culture shift right in front of us on this campus out of all places? People started getting up. There was one of my guys, Jamal, he does a lot of dancing, a lot of hip hop dance. So he get up and did a set of
break dancing.
Yeah, like nobody does that.
It was beautiful to see all the diversity that ended up starting to happen from just being different. You know, you didn't even have to do what you guys were doing. But I'm sure just seeing people that were doing something different came like a catalyst. It became like a catalyst for people to be like, oh, I have something different that I could bring to the table. And it was open mics were a beautiful display of the diversity on our campus beyond just what was offered. You know, it's beautiful what we see offered with the different creative opportunities that Liberty does showcase and broadcast. But it was beautiful to see everything else. So yeah.
And then let's see. So yeah, just going consistently, and not just going, but like really like putting effort into it. People began to remember me, remember Cam, remember Josh and stuff. Like there was this one show that we were invited to, Liberty's Got Talent. It was in the old Towns auditorium. We got invited to that, and to just be a part, and represent like talented parts of our campus. All that from going into open mic, just going consistently and doing our thing. Came out, I ended up winning the thing, and people remember. It's like, whoa, who's this guy with spoken word? Like, who's this guy? So the next, I think it's like 2 open mics after that, I run into Gloria. Gloria at the time was the poet on campus. Like she was with the worship collective. She every now and then they would have her get up and like do a piece for like say like Easter or like Good Friday or like special occasions, and that's a major thing. So that's where she apparently had been hearing about me doing my thing for the longest time. She was like, yo. So she runs into me. She's like, hey, I'm Gloria. Yeah. I'm like, yo, I've seen you before. It's like, it's like, yo, you really good. You get your contact information. We exchange contact info. We kind of stay in touch. Put a pin in that. Cause this is like 2017, like late 2017 going into 2018. She had been, now what I didn't know, like I said, she had been hearing about, her ears had been buzzing about me around campus. Apparently, like she knew that there was this guy on campus that was just killing it with the spoken word, going in consistently. I'm just out here doing me. I'm just out here.
But you're showing up and you're being consistent and you're using what you have, because we're not talking about you put on Instagram videos and had a good production and you did all those social media things. You were just showing up to an open mic. You weren't even getting paid for these things. This is volunteer. You're going out of your way to show up somewhere and say, I'm going to use the mediums that I have to showcase my talent. And you did it consistently. And due to that, now people are hearing about you. They know about you. Word is spreading. And someone who actually has influence and a platform who is doing some of the same things that you are on a more macro level hears about you. I just know that had to be, how did that make you feel when like she's telling you that she had heard about you?
So here's the thing. I didn't find out that she was hearing about me like that until after I joined Ex Nihilo.
Wow. So years later.
Years later. But in that moment,
crazy.
Like I knew who she was, and I knew that for somebody like her to come to somebody like me and be like, yo, I see what you're doing out here. It was very fulfilling, because there were many times during this journey when I was like, yo, like, I feel like I'm just kind of spinning my wheels in the mud here. Like got maybe a few hundred followers on Instagram, and every now and then I'll post a video and it'll be like, yo, like a bunch of people like this and whatever. It's cool. Or like things like people would show up. Some people would show up to the open mics and some people might remember me or whatever. But I'm like, what's going to happen? I really started focusing on like, what's going to happen when I leave this place? and get outside of this bubble. Because I was already involved in the community, but that's really when I was like, well, outside of artistry, what's like, I'm only going to be here on this campus for like another 3 to 4 years, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's where my focus started to really just shift. The listening, they really started pushing more of their open mics. They started having them at Speaker Tree, RIP to Speaker Tree, the dopest venue ever. Like it, and honestly, again, with the listening, they were putting on a lot of artists at the time, like not just like poets, but like rappers, even like painters and stuff. Like they were putting a lot of people just on and really getting them plugged into the city. So, so by this time, this is like 2017, 2018, the listening is really starting to hit its stride. It's really starting to change into the more affluent, like group, the more affluent like nonprofit that we're seeing now. People are really starting to take them seriously at this point.
As they should.
As they should. Like, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to hear these grumblings of something called a freedom school or something. I'm starting to hear like I'm starting to hear the grumblings of it. I'm like, yo, like that sounds cool. But I'm not thinking about, oh, let me go teach. Like, I'm not thinking about none of that. I'm like, all right, this sounds cool. Keep my ear to the ground. So keep serving, keep performing, keep doing my thing. But my biggest thing that has brought me to this point was not just being consistent, but being really good at what it is I do. One thing a wise OG once told me, he was like, you know, if you're really good at what you do, you will never need a business card because they'll always remember you. And that's what I was like, oh, okay. So I spent a lot of time. That's one of the reasons why I went to open mics so frequently, because it became like a testing ground for like new pieces, or really like a practice place to just get up there and get in front of people and get used to being in front of a crowd of people. Because I was like, you know what, when my time comes, when it comes time to do things like get up there and do the Wakanda piece, real powerful and silence like Wakanda. Like I was already seasoned. Like I was
such
already
a good piece.
By the way, like I like guys like Cam, who now is like the man out here. Like, like guys,
he is.
like, come, I mean, let's be real. Like, guys like him, like
so
he wouldn't have invited me on the stage for that set if I was just kind of loafing out here. You know, that's my boy. That's my boy. But he wouldn't have like guys like him, Josh. Shout out Akleso, RJ back in the day, because they played their part in getting me out there too, like in my early days. But I wouldn't have, like, I would have never gotten those opportunities if I wasn't consistent where I was.
If you were mediocre and you weren't trying to be better, even in the place that you were at, you know, you didn't allow, oh, I don't have a platform, no one's giving me an opportunity. You didn't allow those things to tell you or to make you are the definition of doing what you can with what you have. And being resourceful and no excuses. You know, there's the type of moves that you make. No one can diminish your capabilities of being able to really push through and like make a path for yourself, where a path really isn't created. You know, there is those big platforms like the NAACP and those competitions and so things where you can go further. But it's almost an anomaly where you see spoken word artists are able to just have a platform already created specifically for them. You know, you have to be so creative in the way that you do things. And so I think I just love that you have always been resourceful. You've always been able to do what you do with no excuses, and you make it look easy. And it is not. I know it can't be. It cannot be easy. The things that you do and the conversations that you have and the way that you try to cultivate things, because you've always been someone that it's not just about you. You're trying to help people. You are a teacher. You are someone who has taught and helped and had those relationships. So it's been beautiful to see. And I'm just thankful to be able to see it on a personal level, you know, some behind the scenes of it, because people really be having no clue the type of, person you are. And Lacroy, you can follow Lacroy at Atlas Nixon, but he is not someone that has, always is posting constantly and that type of thing. And so if you don't know him, you probably don't understand the level at which he works and his work ethic and stuff, because he's not one to brag. But I will brag on his behalf. He be out here doing a lot of stuff. He's the definition of moving in silence. And so he does a lot of things, and we're so proud of him. But okay, so you meet Gloria. She gets your information, and then now this isn't something that starts automatically. Of course, like you said, fall 2017. I came to Liberty now at fall of 2017, and you didn't you didn't become officially part of Ex Nihilo until like 2020. So let's talk about you becoming a part of it. How did that even become a part? Because was it now you're graduated? And then you become a part, or like, tell me that story.
Okay. So March 2020, the shutdown happens. Going to school online through a computer screen is not fun at all.
Sucks, guys.
But nonetheless, like, I finally get through that year, and I'm like, all right, so just focusing on like, all right, so this poetry stuff, because now there's no open mic. Now I'm off campus. What's going on? And I really had to pray. I'm like, all right, God, what do you want me to do with this? Like, I spent about good 5-6 years doing this really consistently. I'm here. I got all this experience. If this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. If that's the end of that chapter, then let's move on to the next thing. At this time, and that's about the time when I got the idea for the book, just to kind of give kind of timestamp there. And so I was like, all right, so I guess this is not the end. So started writing the book and everything. At this time, I'm home now, and I'm working in a deli at Publix in Williamsburg. Like, I'm literally in a hut. I'm literally in the cut cutting meat. I kid you not. Like, it's a little hole, and I'm there for like 7-8 hours a day, and it's terrible. But when I'm there, one thing I would repeat to myself is like, you know what? I'm going to be great one day. I don't know what that's going to look like. But I know I'm going to be great one day. I'm going to be strong one day. I'm going to be like, I know this isn't it, whatever this is. And then one day I come home from work, and Gloria DMs me or whatever. Cause apparently is what I found out later on. Apparently she'd been looking for me. Like, she had been looking for like, yo, where's this guy at? Like, yo, where's this dude at? She had been looking around trying to figure out who I was, where I was, and stuff like that. Cause we hadn't talked like in a couple years, honestly. We just kept each other's contact. And then she knew somebody else that had been in my church and that was also in BTG at one point, was also in Ex Nihilo. She was like, oh yeah, Lacroy. Yeah, I know him. Yeah. Here's his contact and stuff like that. She was like, what? That's crazy. She hits me up. She's like, hey, try out. We're having tryouts for Ex Nihilo this coming October. I'm like, oh, where? All right, cool. I put a piece, like, it was like a 3-level tryout. It was like an original, like, it was like a video submission of you doing a poem. And then it was like an interview. And then it was like, oh yeah, write a piece about this. And then upload it. And then we'll take a look at it. They were like, yeah, you're in. So yeah, so we'll be going to New York in December. I'm like, I was like everything went mad fast after that. But yeah, like apparently this whole, like, she spent that whole time, like, while Ex Nihilo is starting to build up traction and starting to really focus on, because Ex Nihilo at that point, even when she came to me, had only been there for like a couple years. It had not been around for a long time. So like, God's timing.
Wow. Kairos and Chronos, understanding how God will use things. I think more so anything that you said, just to know that it always baffles me. It gives me chills when I hear stories about your names being in rooms that you don't even know about. At times that you're asking with God, you're pleading with God, and you're telling him like, God, I'm trying to make sense of all this. Please make sense for it. And at the same exact moments that you're having those conversations with God, you have no clue where your name is behind closed doors in the private conversations with people that you have, you didn't even have necessarily desire to necessarily go that avenue. But that's exactly what you were kind of looking for at that time, or a confirmation of some sort. And wow, it's just beautiful to hear and see that. Wow. Okay. So you've been a part of Ex Nihilo for over a year.
Yeah,
We're 2022 now.
just
So
over
just
a
over
year
a year
now.
now.
Yeah.
And yeah. Time flies. And now before you talked about it, you were working on God's sense of humor, but you become a part of Ex Nihilo, and then talk about like actually publishing your book in that time when you felt that push, and what did that look like? Like, why did you do it at the time that you did it?
Well, okay. So I was really, so before the shutdown, I was like, all right, I'm getting ready to graduate. God, what's next?
Yeah.
Even if the shutdown didn't happen, I'm out of here. Like,
yeah.
like, what's going on? And then that's when, that's when everything was like, all right, what if I wrote a book? But what if, okay, that's something that a poet could do. That's not off brand, but how would I do that? What would I,
Yeah.
what in the world? Like, where would I even start with that?
What does that look like? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just like dumbfounded, but real talk, like for me, I was like, what do I call this? What do I call this? What do I start? Part of, quick fun fact. Part of the name came from an extraneous situation involving a certain person. And that's I'm not gonna hold you. Like, that's where I got the name from. That's part of it. I was like, oh, but I'm not kidding you, because that's right after that, just about the entire first to like third chapter, it came to me, and I was like, all right, I think I know what I'm gonna do. And I was like,
that's incredible.
it's so funny when I think about it now, because then I was no good. I was no good.
Hey, yeah, I was just having a conversation about some stuff, and it's just like to think, even as a collective of people who were friends, and like years have gone by and stuff of that nature. It's crazy to see how God works. Even back then, where you are now, you would have never known back then why you had to go through certain things or why those things happened. But now looking back, you're like, woo. Because that definitely is a God's sense of humor now, but when you going through it, it don't feel like no sense of humor.
It's like, yo, this ain't funny, bro. Like, but
it's not funny at all.
It ain't nothing funny, bro. Ain't nothing sweet out here. But like, okay. So I get the idea for the book. So I know, like, okay, God and his humor. How does it work? Eventually I'm like, God and his humor. The funny thing about it is there's nothing really funny about it. And I'm like, okay, there's our backbone right there. So then I was like, okay, how are we going to lay it out? So I decided to lay it out in forms of chapters. But each chapter building on the next. A lot of poetry books, from what I've seen, they'll be like collections of poems. They won't exactly be like, oh, this poem is specifically designed to go with this poem, which is part of a whole collective.
Like a conceptual, like a concept, a conceptual type of piece that is put together, instead of just like all of these poems together. But like God's sense of humor, it has like that concept behind it, where they have the poems in tandem and like they're meant to be together.
Right. And
okay, that's dope.
So yeah, like, but then I was like, okay, it's missing something. And And then I was like, you know what, this book needs art. One thing I've seen about a lot of poetry books, again, it's just words, having those visual cues to go along with, the very, the very imagery heavy poetry would probably help with like the message itself. So that's where I just started just going. And every night I would come home, like I would work like 2 to 10, like from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the deli, and I would come home, and from about 11 to like 4 a.m., I'd be either writing poetry or making the art for the book. And I just did that until I really felt like it was time. And then I got another job. I was working as like a stock room manager or something like that. I would be in the stock room recording pieces into my note section.
Wow.
Like half of my book is written in the stock room, bro. I kid you not.
Wow,
but
that's like crazy.
Because I was like, when I just got it in my head, it's like, no, this needs to happen. I need to write this. This just needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. I can't wait. I can't sit on this. People will be like, yo, I've been writing a book for about, 2 years. Like, no, it's like, I don't know what it is, but I need to turn
this around. There was an
around.
urgency within you. Yes. And you knew that it had to go. And it was probably because of your obedience that you felt like, God, that's what he had put on your heart and it needed to be out there. And you felt that urgency from the Holy Spirit to go. I mean, I think I feel that even with this podcast. Like it's been, I've had the podcast for a long time now, but since 2019. So it's not a new it's not a new development, but like in this last season, I felt a type of urgency, like God saying, like, these are the conversations that need to happen. I don't know why. I don't know what is going to come from it. I just know that I'm doing my part, which is having the conversations with people exactly like Lacroy, who they've been creatively purposed by God to do some things. And so me doing my part, I can only do what I can. God will do whatever he needs to do. But I just think like that urgency, that's a gift, because like I said before, no excuses. Lacroy be out here.
You gotta do our thing, man.
He be doing what he be doing, okay? He don't even be talking about it. He just be doing it, okay?
Come on now. Come on now.
That's too much time. That's too much time to be telling people what I be doing. Y'all, we don't be knowing what he be doing. I'm saying that for a reason. Nobody knows what he be doing. He just come back every 6 months like, so?
Nah, I be feeling bad sometimes. I'll be like, dang, I got friends. I got people that love me and stuff. And I'm like, dang, I'm out here just doing my thing.
I respect it. I can't be mad at it.
You say every 6 months.
Every 6 months, we're like, so y'all, I'm going to London.
What? Well, hold on. To be fair, I had told Brandon, KJ, and Cam about that way in advance. They just kind of be like,
no,
okay.
I just used that as a hypothetical. You actually, you talk. It's really funny. We were like, yeah, Lacroy just be out here. He just be doing what he doing, minding his business and doing what he doing. And nobody could be mad at it. Okay, so you have your book that you are actually getting. Tell us about the book. Like, tell us about any exciting news or anything regarding that. Because I do know there's something, happening. And so, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So pretty much like, the book, I'm going to, hold on.
Yeah, get the book.
Hold on. Here we go. God and his humor. Everything was designed, written by me. I had to, so when I published it, this was really kind of served as like a conglomeration of, like you said, being resourceful, putting all my skills to use. So everything from the writing to like understanding like rules of art, rules of visual art, and making sure everything is cohesive. Really, like this project kind of serves as a marriage of all of those different skills. and really like one of the first times I've really been able to put all those skills into one thing. A lot of times I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm spoken word poet over here, graphic designer over here, and athlete over there. But this was one of the first times it was like, all right, let me really make all this happen.
Wow.
And then with the book, so everything, the cover, this is the first time I'm actually getting a chance to talk about the cover. So the cover features my face with some wings coming out of it. The inspiration for this was a line in the back of here, which I'll read real quick. Let's see. A line in the final poem where it says, you know, only he, referencing God, only he would give me the illusion of safety in what is supposed to be his house, knowing that outside of the four walls of the church, there are those rolling around with the safety off their tongues. Only he would place the sun in the sky, give me wax wings, and tell me to fly as high as I can. So really kind of like playing on this kind of cynical tone throughout the book. Kind of because one thing I've learned really from talking to people in and outside of the church is like most people, it's not that they don't believe in Jesus. It's not that they don't believe in God. It's rather that they've really been just hurt. Like, it's like, God, like, where was you at when X, Y, Z was going on? You know, is you think this is funny? Like, is this a game? You God, you were invincible. I'm just me out here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A lot of people, I found a lot of people that share a sentiment similar to that. So this isn't just everything in here. This isn't just my story or my words. This is really things that I've heard from a lot of different people from different walks of life. And yeah, so let's see. Everything is broken down in the chapters. So quick chapter breakdown. Chapter one focuses more on the feelings we might have had as children. The feelings of, let's see, there's one line that summarizes it perfectly. Well, a couple lines here. It's like, let's see, those were the good old days. The days when games were just games. The days when puppy love was cute. The days when birds invited us to fly with them. The days when we all climbed the jungle gym as equals. So I think that line really summarizes like the idea of chapter one of like, you know, there was a time when we were kind of innocent. You know, there was a time when we didn't think about, oh, is there food in the fridge or how the bill's going to get paid or what am I going to do with my life? We were just focused on playing in the dirt, you know, and there's a beauty and a simplicity to that. So that's chapter one. Chapter two focuses on the woes of being a pastor's kid and growing up in the church.
Unicorn gang.
Come on now, you know what time it is. Like, and there's a lot of unsaid, unspoken like traumas that come with like a lot of church kids. Because for me, like it's all the times you go to like the conferences, you see the other pastors' kids, and you realize you're the most sane person in the room because everybody's wild. Because everybody wild. Everybody like you thought, oh, I took this cookie one time. I think God's not going to be too happy with that. And you realize people out here. And I'm like, oh.
Out here. Yeah.
Like,
I felt that.
So like, it really just goes into that. So yeah. So yeah.
No, I don't mean to cut you off. You're good.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Let's see. And then, yeah, that's pretty much that. And just really me just kind of being open about how I really felt about things in the church. Chapter three is intersection, a story told through poetry. I pretty much take the ideas in chapters 1 and 2 and put them together in a story format. So I have some characters that are named in here, and it's all meant to kind of be like this kind of twisted situation and the kind of things that happen in the streets, in the hood. I know a lot of people that live in the hood, or have known of people that have lived in the hood, people that used to sell drugs and do things that I'm not going to mention on camera.
Right. Right.
And every person that I met when I was a kid, you know, you see it in music videos, see it in rap. It's like, oh, this is cool. Like everybody I come to school dressed like this, act like this. Everybody thinks I'm cool. But everybody that I met that came out of that situation is always trying to get out of that situation. And they were the first ones to highlight to me. It's like, yo, why do you think that is? So pretty much, to kind of summarize chapter 3, everything kind of revolves around the unjust killing of a guy by the name of Bobby. Bobby is this community activist. He's the go-to guy for the community. He's out there like bringing, like squashing like gang beef and stuff like that. He's really like the glue and like kind of like this patriarchal figure of this community. But the question is, what happens when he is suddenly removed, and how does that affect the people there? So that goes into that. And then let's see, that's chapter 3. Chapter 4 is personal. It's called Unbelievable Stories, with an un in a parentheses. Because most of these stories are just random things, these seemingly random instances in my life where it's like, oh, this definitely happened. Like, oh, that definitely happened. And really just looking at my story, like, how did I get here? But then the seemingly little things that I learned that really shaped the person who I am today.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, there's this one piece, piece. It's not really written in poetry. It's more of like almost essay format. The first one in there is called Shoestrings. It talks about what is strength, you know, because I remember a time when my dad, he taught me how to tie my tie. But when he had his stroke, I had to tie his shoes because he couldn't bend down and tie his own shoes. And that was a really interesting thing that made me think about, so what really is strength? So asking deep kind of existential questions like that in chapter 4. Chapter 5, going into, it's called Elsewhere. It really talks about where, like, oh yeah, outside of this bubble that you see here, there are people out in the world that really are struggling, that are really like bugging. To kind of give an idea, remember like the first line from chapter 1 where I was like, yeah, well, puppy love was cute, where this happens.
Right.
I took that same piece and remixed it, but check this out. I wish I knew those good old days. The days when games weren't so risky. The days when puppy love was cute. The days when birds didn't break the sound barrier and drop bombs. The days when we didn't have to hide under the jungle gym as equals. So that one talks about, like, that piece talks about like the kids that were in the Middle East when Israel was being bombed back in 2008. So a lot of those kids, they didn't have a place they could play because, you know, bombs are coming out the sky.
It was literally got bombed and they didn't even have a place to sleep, let alone play.
So like what happened was they built their recreation centers, an indoor recreation center that's made to withstand mortar shells. So it was really an interesting kind of juxtaposition. And then the final chapter, chapter 6, is a letter to management. And it really just spends time asking God, like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Asking God, like, do you think this is funny? Or maybe it kind of ends with, you know, what if I'm supposed to be the change that I'm looking for, kind of thing. So really a progression of a lot of things. So, all right, I'll shut up.
I know that you had mentioned, you know, art is a personal journey and not necessarily something to monetize or something that you will be able to monetize starting off. And just knowing the premise of this podcast season, just being about creatives and knowing their worth and just making the effort to put themselves out there, having the inspiration, motivation to do so. Just, you know, what is your last thoughts that you would give to someone about your journey, maybe what you have learned and what you would want to give to someone else?
Sheesh, we might have to do a whole nother episode just for this. But real talk, like, I've started to see art like now. It's all essentially the same. The only difference between a painter and a dancer is the paintbrush and the canvas. But at the end of the day, all art essentially is expression. And I think it's a very human thing at that. You got to think, like, thousands of years ago, cavemen were crushing rocks to make pictures on cave walls just to show somebody else how their day went. I mean, and this is before the laws of juxtaposition or lighting or value were created or established. Like they were just taking pigment from rocks and making pictures of bison. It it's a very human thing to do. The thing with art, no matter whether you see it as objective or subjective, it's that I've always seen it very close to like martial arts, like kung fu and stuff. It's not really about like the kicks and the punches, but it's about learning self-discipline. It's about confidence. It's about understanding your own limits and pushing those limits. Art is literally it's martial arts. It's art. It's no different. Like it's not about like for poetry, for example, it's not about the fancy metaphors or the entendres or making the crowd go crazy, but it's really about a personal connection with yourself and a personal journey, like on the surface level, at least. It really, it's really about understanding who you are in the space that you hold. Every elite level poet that I've met, from genetics, black ice, every elite level poet I've ever gotten a chance to talk to, they've all said the same thing when it comes to talking about poetry. Poetry is like standing on a stage naked in front of the world with all your problems laid bare. That takes a level of confidence. It takes a level of understanding. All right. And that really, you can take that to the bank in anything you do.
No, that's because it takes so much humility and self-awareness to be able to lay naked and vulnerable on a stage in front of people. And it has to be nerve-wracking. It does, but wow, thank you for making it look easy. You make it look easy, but wow, we got a little exclusive, guys. Yes, so make sure you all go ahead and buy God's Sense of Humor, God and His Humor, by Lacroy, and you can get it on Amazon. And you can follow Lacroy at Atlas Nixon. He also, to my knowledge, is doing some things with the Poetry Society of Virginia, and you can get involved with the Poetry League in Williamsburg coming soon. He also is obviously a part of Ex Nihilo Creatives Group. And Hope Booth will be doing some things soon that I'm sure you can see what he is doing a part of that. And you can check out Hope Booth as well to figure out how you may be able to help be a part of that, donations. And then he also has his Patreon. So talk about your Patreon. And just how somebody might be able to get connected to that.
So yeah, like everything that you just heard from like things I've learned for poetry, I'm posting videos now, like right now in the form of workshops, but in the future, by the time you guys probably are hearing this, there'll be more content focused around like experiences on stage, things I've seen, things I've learned, hard lessons I've learned, what to do, what not to do. If you are a poet or somebody that just wants to get started with writing, or somebody that used to write but kind of fell off and is interested in getting back into it, come check me out on Patreon. I give workshops, I give advice, just some pointers, and then I also give writing prompts. Like I actually give people something to sink their teeth into. One thing I had recently was the one-liner challenge. Essentially, create like one line that's based in like kind of like hyperbole or like imagery or like a metaphor, but you only have one line to create something. And some of the submissions were amazing. I was like, oh shoot, people really are, people really do this. Like, but yeah, like if you really want to get better, I'd love to help.
Yeah, and I'll leave the information to do any of the various things regarding following Lacroy and stuff in the show notes and on the description box, wherever this may be. But oh my goodness, what a good episode. I hope everything was resourceful and people were able to get something from it. You know, There's so many gems that Lacroy drops. So please get your notepad out and make sure that you're listening, and listen to this again, even just to maybe like go through things and understand them on a deeper level. But thank you so much for being a part of Maia Moments this season, Lacroy. I'm so thankful to have you, and to just be able to partner in all of the things that you're doing.
Of course. Glad to be here. Come on now. You know what we do. Come on now.
Hey. Thank you guys all for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. God bless.